Hey, congratulations on In Other Words.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gig.
So tell us where this story actually came about. What's the premise of this story? Where did it come from?
Well, we had made a feature film called Lola's Love Shack a number of years back, and I had a executive producer call me after that and say, "I want to make a film with you." And I was, of course, that's exciting and great. So we went down to his house and I started pitching him some stories. And he's like, wait, you misunderstand me. I don't want to make your film. I want you to make my film. And we're like, oh. So he pitched us the story of a friend of his who had sold his company, was traveling through Europe, and fell in love with a young lady at a coffee shop, or just smitten by this girl who didn't speak a lick of English. All she spoke was French and Greek. And he only spoke English, so he wooed her through like a translation dictionary, like and that's how. And slowly he learned the language, and they fell in love, got married, and
They're still together till this day.
Yeah, he thought that was an interesting premise, but he said, "I want you to base something on this story, but set it in Mexico, like change the character to an American guy that travels to Mexico." And he said specifically, this wine region right across the border in Baja California called Valle de Guadalupe, that's where he wanted it set. And so we went down there, he invited us down there, and we checked out the wineries and the food and did a lot of research, enjoying wines and food, and based some of the characters on people we met down there. And based it, and Cristina went and interviewed the original couple that it was based on. And so based on all these pieces, we put together this story.
And romance like that actually works, huh?
Well, for them, for the original couple, it did work, right? It completely worked, and they're still married to this day. And so, yeah, we had to take a few of the elements, and actually, we know a few people who have been connected through the matchmaking apps like JDate or whatever, and they're still together.
So we also combined, we turned it into a more modern love story where
Right.
an app matches them. But so it turns out that she doesn't speak English, and our main character developed the app. So he's like, why is my own app matching me with someone who doesn't speak my language? The app is broken. And his co-developers say, maybe it's not broken. Maybe she is the right woman for you. And so that's the premise. To see if this app is broken or not, he pursues this girl.
I feel like I need that app. But anyway.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So how did you want to after you got the basic premise of the story, how did you want to basically write the story and come up with the story itself to develop it into sort of more like a Latino English style of movie?
So we have a mission. Lux 3 Pictures is Patrick, myself, and the executive producer Ruben Islas. And our mission was to definitely put Latino stories out there and elevate Latinos in front of the camera, behind the camera. So we consciously infused Latino characters, but we also have a very diverse cast. We have Rishi Arya, who is Indian American, and and then we went into the writing room. We developed the treatment together, the story, and we very consciously chose to highlight, for example, the sous chefs that we were seeing in Valle de Guadalupe, who were bilingual, completely bilingual. And we met the grand dame of wineries, and so we began, as we began to travel and go to Valle de Guadalupe, we went often. The characters there who were Mexican were unfolding, and the story was unfolding, so we did that in a very collaborative way, but a very conscious way. And then kind of there are different elements that, like a traditional in the past, like a romantic comedy, American romantic comedy, is usually very white, typically in the past, like it's the white Anglo character, And so we very consciously were making it very diverse and making the Latino story really pop out and stand out.
So a romantic film, like in other words here, because American romantic comedies are one thing, Mexican romantic comedies are another thing. Which is it more towards, the American type of romantic comedies or the Mexican type, or do you try to blend in both worlds?
Well, we come from a diverse world, but we're American born, and we definitely are more American.
If I can add that, I was trained as a writer here in America, and I would really have to learn more of the structure that they use in Mexico, like in telenovelas or even non-telenovelas. So we really used a structure that was American. So it unfolds in a very Hollywood American style.
Yeah, I went to UCLA Film School, and our style is American. We definitely are influenced by foreign films. I mean, some of my favorite films are Japanese films and Mexican cinema and European cinema. But we are trained and educated in the American fashion. So that's that. I mean, it truly is an American romantic comedy that is diverse and doesn't kind of hold these strict boundaries and these strict lines. And that's kind of the message also of the film, is that, we don't live in this black and white world. We live in, we have friends of every race and every creed. And that often isn't reflected in cinema, and that's one of our missions, is to show that there isn't a static, fluid structure. We cross boundaries. Everybody does in a daily life, and we want to see that on the screen.
And I would have to add that, of course, the elements of like the telenovela, like you will have a slap from somebody's going to slap someone, so we'll have these like fun elements that that's part of like my Mexicanness, so that you can expect that in there.
So let's talk about filming this film, in two different languages, because you have English, Spanish, and a lot of people were going to be bilingual. Talk about doing all of this on purpose and basically trying to balance it all through an American film like this.
So when we started to look at the original story, like we mentioned, was this guy and girl. The original story had a dictionary, translation dictionary, but nowadays we really took a look at what people do today, and it's really the telephone. It's very easy. Everyone usually has one on hand, and so we started to incorporate immediately the translation apps that we had. And so we actually we played with it, and some of the hilarities, the funniness there is because these apps sometimes say the wrong thing, and then you've got your foot in your mouth, and it just plays out so well. And then but it is clunky, right? So then we're like, okay, he would continue to try, and so then we had the Cyrano de Bergerac moment where he's got someone in his ear feeding him the lines, and so and then from there in our research we actually stumbled upon the Waverly Labs, right? I was researching it, and this one was like literally like the little earbud. It goes to your phone, you say something, and it translates in her ear. And so we incorporated that, and we actually reached out to the developers, and we made a partnership with them and incorporated it into the movie. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to write this and to really research and incorporate what already exists. It's an amazing time to be living in.
I would say, I mean, it's primarily an English language movie. It's about an American guy who's trying to woo a girl who doesn't speak his language, but it's 80% English. And the Spanish that is used is translated through the apps or through a person. And there is a little bit of Spanish dialogue, which needs to be subtitled, but it's very little. We know American audiences don't like to read, and they don't like to look at subtitles. So we kept that to a bare minimum. And I think that's why, we were able to get distribution. You know, a lot of distributors don't know what to do with the bilingual movie. And so keeping it to a minimum helped us land our distribution deal.
Talk about the actress that you are using to portray the Mexican.
You mean Eddie Ganem?
No, the actress that it's going to be. Eddie is the one who's doing the translation. I'm talking about the actress who.
So Natasha Esca was our kind of lead Mexican girl, and what we wanted to do with this character is something that that I like to do in all our films is defy expectations. So the lead sees this girl at a club. His app matches her with him, and when he approaches her, she's a pretty blonde girl, and he talks to her, and she doesn't speak English. This pretty blonde girl is Mexican and doesn't speak a lick of English. And so we knew from the start that we needed to find, and we are Mexican American, and we have many relatives, even in our family, who are blonde and would pass completely as Americans. And so we wanted to show that the diversity of the Mexican population and of the Latino population, and how it's not what you expect. People it's not a homogenous group, right? So he finds this girl, a pretty blonde girl. She is Mexican and doesn't speak English, and that's a shock to him. And so Natasha is someone who's been on Narcos season 2. She was in a friend of mine's film, and that's actually where we first saw her.
Cine Loteria.
Yeah, Cine Loteria is the name of the film, and she was the lead in his film, and we thought she did an excellent job. So I called my buddy who's a filmmaker, and I said, hey, can you give us her number? And she auditioned, and we loved her. She was perfect for the part. And her career's on the rise. She's a great actress.
So she's a Mexican actress.
Yes. She's Mexican.
She was born here. So she was born here, and then she went to Mexico and lived there.
She lives in Mexico City.
So she actually speaks English perfectly, and had to pretend she didn't speak English.
Good acting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's frustrating for someone like her, but that is quite different for someone's career. Talk about the American actor that how you brought him on board.
Ooh, Brian McClure, we definitely auditioned a lot of people, and Brian McClure was actually introduced to us by my my manager Sandra Avila, and he had done a pilot with her, and he just was amazing. He's been in Atlanta. He has been in a few other shows that are Star Command, and he's on the rise as well. And he's just lovely, and it's so funny because he is very much like the character True. True is a nerdy, geeky, insecure guy who is awkward with women, and Brian had to admit that this character was very much like him. So we had a lot of fun working with Brian. One of the things that we like to the little background. So Cassavetes style, like Brian came and like lived with our family. Like this is an indie movie, low budget. And we were like, would you be okay to like stay with our family? And mind you, like we have 3 children. My mom is here helping us with the kids. Like it's a full house. Full house.
So we had the DP was staying here. The lead actor was staying here, and yeah, we ate together. We went to the set together, and this is how you got to do whatever it takes to make your film and put every dollar on the screen. So we're not wasting dollars at hotels and meals and stuff like that. And they were lovely.
Yeah, but he was just such a trooper, and his parents were worried, like worried parents, like they're from Omaha, Nebraska, and they're worried he was coming out to Hollywood. And when he's like, no, I'm staying with the family, they were like, oh, thank God. They were just, it was good for everyone.
Wow. Now, of course, there is a third person in the film, which I saw. I barely saw her on the trailer, but I knew she has a bigger role. As you talked about Edie herself, which she's actually already known in on American television with that one show. I think
Devious Maids.
Yeah, Devious Maids, and then she did Anna Maria and Telenova, which is another romantic comedy. Talk about her, why she was perfect to bring in on this project.
Well, we are just, we're really fortunate, I think, that our first film, Lola's Love Shack, we actually met her there. We did an open casting call back then, and she walked through the door and auditioned, and I was just like, my jaw practically dropped. One of those people that is going to be a star. She has the it factor, and she had it from the first time we met her. So she already had a career started and a manager, and she came to this audition on her own. This is back on Lola's Love Shack, without telling her manager. And she said, I like to try to meet new people and do things outside of my management company, because I never know where my opportunities are going to come from. And so sure enough, like, this relationship has lasted. She has been in a pilot that we shot about 4 years ago. And then she joined us in Other Words. And her role is significant in Other Words. She may not be as prominent in the trailer, but when you see the movie, you'll see why. But she's just a lovely actor. She jumps off the screen, and everybody who sees it really comments on her. She's kind of the standout of this movie, and we just love her to death. And we look forward to continuing to work with her, like a Scorsese De Niro relationship. Hopefully we'll put her in every movie we have, because we really love her.
So tell me about filming in Baja California, in wine country. I mean, this sounds like a terrible work vacation for both of you.
Well, actually, we didn't film in Baja California. We've discovered, as we were pre-producing, that in order to cross the border with your union actors, the rate jumps, because it's now an international film.
3 times.
3 times the amount we would have to pay them, and put them up in first-class lodgings, first-class travel. And we did crunch the numbers, and the movie was impossible to make in Valle de Guadalupe. So we weren't sure what to do. The movie was kind of teetering. It was teetering on possibly not happening, until I found a winery in Malibu, California, that gave us a rate that worked with us. And this winery is called Malibu Solstice Vineyards. And that's what made this possible. So we did establishing shots and drone shots down in Mexico, and we filmed the majority of it here in Southern California, both in that winery and another winery in the Santa Clarita Valley called Reyes Winery.
And the reason it worked was because the building, the little, we call it a little mini mansion that was there, really reminded us of Adobe Guadalupe that exists in Valle de Guadalupe. It's a hotel and restaurant down there. So we really thought this can work, and really that was like the element that was needed, and then we were off to the races.
Movie magic. Yeah, the Malibu winery had dirt roads leading to it, very, very similar to, and so did the Santa Clarita winery. It had dirt roads. It looked like Mexico. We put some signage up in Spanish, and voila, we're in Mexico.
Don't tell anyone.
For you guys, Malibu.
I know. Yeah, no, the point still holds, because like when we were wrapped, like the crew, like it was kind of like a slumber party, because we were way up in the mountains. A lot of the crew would actually stay at the location, so we all slept there. And in the morning, you'd have like crew members doing yoga.
Yeah. After
we were done, like with a view of the Pacific Ocean. And then after we were done, people would be in the hot tub, relaxing and stuff. So it was hard work, and it was a tight budget, but people enjoyed it.
How long did this shoot actually last for you guys? It's because being an indie project, you guys were probably on a very tight schedule.
17 days.
Yeah.
17 days. So, it was really a matter of once we got the take, we had to move on. We didn't get extra takes just in case. Like once we knew we had it, we moved on to the next shot because we had to move extremely fast. And that was made possible through our cinematographer, Istvan Letang, who is a wonderful, wonderful camera person and cinematographer. And our actors were so well prepared that there was times Brian McClure got one take because the sun was setting. He had to nail it. This one take, and he did. Just so well prepared, such a professional. And he's like, really? I don't get another take? I'm like, no, you don't. Moving on. Like, that was perfect. And sure enough, it was. I mean, he did a really good job.
Wow. Could you talk about some of the challenges, the biggest challenges facing a project like this?
Well, I mean, it's always, budget, right? So you always could use a little more help. You could use a few more PAs. And we were shooting in the summer, so it was incredibly hot. So those are those were I think the main thing is the budget. You have a limited amount. So you have your page count is like at 7. Sometimes I think, what was the biggest page count?
We had like 10 pages a day.
10 pages a day. So that's where,
it was tough. I mean, you have to really know what you're doing to be able to do that many pages and do them well. And it's not, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, the normal Hollywood page count is like 1 to 3 pages a day of script to screen, but we didn't have the luxury of that. So the biggest challenge was time and money. There was days when, we barely finished the day, but I mean, it was just incredible. We finished what we needed to do every single day. We did not go over schedule. We did not go over budget. And I tell you, I mean, there was challenges all the way throughout, from production to post-production to music to everything. But like, we found solutions for everything, and the team members came out of the woodwork, and incredible people came and gave us amazing work for a fraction of the price. And so, we're incredibly grateful to the whole team for being able to pull this off.
Well, you know what? It's amazing that how you pulled it off, because it doesn't look like a low budget film, So
that's what we're proud of. I mean, it does not. And I don't think anyone who does a low budget film, like, Paranormal Activity is one of the highest grossing films of all time. Nobody says like, oh, it's pretty good for a low budget film. They say that's a good film, period. No one's ever going to give you a pass because you're low budget. You have to hold yourself up to the highest standards. It has to be a good movie, period. There's no excuses, right?
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned before you did I'm assuming it's a romantic comedy, Love Shack?
Lola's Love Shack is a
teen comedy.
Teen comedy.
It's a teen comedy.
Kind of like American Pie.
Oh, it's not. So it's an American Pie. It's not a romantic comedy.
No. Yeah, it's more like American Pie or
Super Bad.
Did you two meet on that production? Is that where your guys' relationship started with, or is it earlier than that?
It was earlier. In 2006, I was touring a one-woman show called Rocks in My Salsa, about being single and living in Los Angeles as a Latina. And I went on the radio show on 90.7 KPFK. It was called The Pocho Hour of Power, and Patrick was one of the hosts on it. There were 4. And I gotta say, the show was always just like chaos. It was these
fun chaos,
but really, like, I was nervous about it because it was never like it was always like taking it off in different directions. So I was nervous about it, but when I walked in, Patrick was there, and we had worked together through
we used to
4 years before.
We used to teach after school arts program, and we were both dating other people at the time, so we were co-workers. And so she walks into my radio show, and I'm like, Cristina Nava, how are you? And she's like, you're on the show? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, so she breathed a sigh of relief.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is someone I know. But then the chemistry was there from the get-go.
I was like, are you still dating that guy? She's like, no. She's like, are you with? I'm like, no. And we're both like, so it was instant kind of attraction at that point. And we started dating.
And then because I actually that was like my last theatrical thing I did. I was moving into television and film. And
I was attending UCLA Film School at the time. And so as we're dating, I saw a script she had written for a short film, and it was really good. And I was like, Cristina, this is good. I said, can I use this for my senior thesis? She's like, sure. So we developed that story, and
we actually had to write a grant, and we wrote the grant together, and we got it. It was like $10,000, and that's what we used to
the
shoot.
most money we ever had. You know, we were just like, wow. And we got to build a set on the soundstage at UCLA, and Cristina had never produced before. And I said, don't worry, you know, I'll show you how to do it. And we walked through the whole process of producing, directing, writing, editing this short film. And once we were able to do that,
and we didn't kill each other.
Without killing each other, we realized like maybe we have something here, you know. And
not killing each other on that set was our I do. So yeah. So then after that, we continued to work together on other projects. We got married shortly thereafter, probably about a year and a half later. And I had always wanted a partner like that. I had always wanted someone who would help, you know, would support me, and I would support them, and we would create projects together, you know, movies together.
So far, so good.
Speaking of, so how does this relationship work on set without driving each other nuts? I mean, what's the secret to marriage or secret to partnership that you know, people would like to talk about?
So the partnership on set for me, and you can speak on yours. Like for me, it's like you know, we're co-producing, but when it comes to directing or what, you know, the principal photography, I stay in my lane. I'm protecting him as the director. I'm being very professional about it. And, you know, there's still occasionally I'll come on set, you know, as a writer, I'm like, and, you know, I'll pull him aside, and we have a respectful dialogue, and then he goes back and he gets the last word on set. So
thanks. That's the only place I get the last word, by the way. The only place. But when we're in pre-production is the most stressful part. That's when we tend to like the tensions are there. We're producing together, you know, we're living together, you know, and we tend to there are times when we're kind of at each other's throat a little bit in the pre-production part. And then, you know, what helps there is just we have a good history of open communication and you know, talking things through and not going to sleep angry and all those kind of stuff. But once production starts, we're just working. So, you know, it actually goes kind of smoothly because we have so much to do that I kind of don't really see her too much. She's off putting out fires that I don't even know about to make sure the next day is ready. I'm dealing with the fires here and now on set. And, you know, we're just kind of doing our work. So, yeah, I mean, it's been challenging, but so far so good.
It's trust, right? It's trust because yes, I wrote it, and we worked on the story together, but I trust him. You know, we know the vision, and I really genuinely think he's a great director, and I saw that from our thesis. And what I love is that I saw from our thesis film how he worked with people who were really, really good. And I saw that he created quality work even from the first project that we worked on. So
thank you.
That is great. Now, of course, I'm gonna start wrapping things up, but it's very important for us to talk about the distribution for this film because it's coming out September 8th. Could you talk about where it's going to be available? And I also understand it's going to come out on HBO Latino down the road. So
yeah, we're extremely proud of this. Well, I got to say, you know, the experience on this film with distribution has been tremendous, and it really has to do with the team that was put together by executive producer. Tamara Nagahiro is our rep, our distribution rep, and there's a new company called Grandave International, which she's the head of, and we're the first film they acquired for distribution. And she had partnerships in the industry, was able to parlay those partnerships into a distribution deal with Viva Pictures. And Viva was the one that had relationships that was able to get it on HBO Latino and on video on demand starting September 9th. What that means is that when you go to your cable box, it'll be rentable on your cable box. And we're just thrilled because we are one of the few movies, especially independent movies, that's going to have, as soon as you go to like what's on tonight, on demand, we're going to be featured right on the front page. You don't have to scroll and look for the letter I and find in other words. We're going to be featured for at least the first 2 or 3 weeks right up front and center. And that's due to the quality of our film, but also the relationships that our distributor had and was able to put it in that position. And then HBO Latino, we're just incredibly thrilled. We know it's you know, that is a level and a bar that's very high to be able to get in there. And many films with big budgets and big actors are competing for the attention. And you know, they selected our film to be part of their lineup, and we're just like honored and thrilled and excited about that. And this is different than any other distribution experience we've had. This is going to be seen farther and wider than anything we've done before.
Excellent. And I have one more question to, you know, wrap things up, because it's a silly question to ask, but we always ask it, is because the times we're actually going through this pandemic right now, and obviously, you know, being in this industry, we want to start working on the next project. There's always not a downtime for ourselves. How are you two still staying creative during the times like this?
Well,
how are we saying that?
well, I mean, we really, like you say, we haven't stopped. Like, we just shot a music video that I just finished editing here on my system. A music video for the title track of our film. In other words, the song is called "In Other Words" by Nancy Sanchez and Raimundo Monge. And so we did that music video. We're also working on a script that we've been developing for about a year called "Like, Share, Kill." And then our executive producer has commissioned a new work for us, another comedy, which we're going to try to film this year.
Mid-October,
so, which is a short time frame. And so we are actually thankful to be incredibly busy. And you know, we love it. We love staying busy. The worst is not knowing what's next, having no direction, you know, but we have a direction.
From a writer's perspective, like, I think we're so blessed that these projects are in the works. But if I had to say anything to anyone, especially writers, like, this is the perfect opportunity to finish that script that you haven't. For me, I'm constantly, like, I'm on to the next one. Like, I already know once we finish this, once we finish shooting, I have an idea for another one, you know? And I spent a lot of time in my 20s, like, doubting myself as a writer, or, you know, not taking that plunge. And so for me, I'm trying to catch up. And so I don't like wasting time. So I'm constantly writing. I'm writing, you know, I'm writing the next feature. And so I would recommend to anyone to just really take this time. This is a moment in history that may not happen in our life. Hopefully will not happen in our lifetime again. But I take advantage of it. You know, I don't want to waste any more time. So write.
Excellent answers for the both of you. One more just to wrap it up. Latino American films have made great strides in recent decades, but of course, you know, it's still far behind than you know, a lot of regular films. What does it mean to be a Latino American filmmaker today to you?
To me, unfortunately, it means to be passed over, discounted, somewhat invisible. I mean, I know it's negative, but you know, I got into this about 20 years ago thinking that we were riding this demographic wave and that we were just around the corner. We're going to make an impact and have a real place in Hollywood. And if you look at the studies that have come out, if you look at the UCLA studies, USC studies, you see that we're going the wrong direction. Representation has remained static or has gone down. And you know, I think nowadays, like right now, I think there is a kind of a turning point where studios are trying to be more inclusive and they're trying to find new voices. And we just keep hearing like people say like, well, we want to hire Latinos, but we don't know any, you know, and
writers,
and here we are like operating really outside the system. We might as well be in middle America because nobody knows us. You know, like although we've made these independent films, the studios are unaware, and the television, you know, shows are unaware. And so we really need to get more Latinos behind the camera in decision-making positions. The diversity programs within the studios are very important. My cousin, Davey Perez, is writing on Supernatural thanks to one of the ABC diversity writing program. And so there's limited ways to get in, and we need to keep on pounding out that door and keep on making quality work, because I truly believe that just asking for an opportunity isn't enough. You have to be a really good writer and a really good filmmaker, and you have to stand shoulder to shoulder with everyone else in the industry. No one needs to do us any favors. They just need to let us in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just to add to what Patrick is saying, it is a struggle. You know, it is a struggle, and I have said before that I actually I watch a lot of television and episodics, a lot of streaming, and I do feel that television is making really big strides to be inclusive, like shows like All Rise, The Umbrella Academy, Stranger Things, On My Block. Like I'm seeing it. I am seeing it, and I really praise those executives who are making these decisions, because I think it's working. But I do have to say, like, because we are in the film world, that is really where we have a lot of work to do. And I'm really proud to be a part of Lux 3 Pictures, and I'm so honored to work with Grandave Capital and Tamara Nagahiro and you know, Ruben Islas, the whole team, because this team is consciously making these strides in film, but I do think that in film we have a lot of work, and so, you know, it's a struggle, but we have to keep going, because it's worth it, because our children and, you know, are looking for images of themselves on the screen, and we're going to work at continuing to bring those
positive images, positive stories,
yes,
non-stereotypical Latino representations on the screen.
Terrific. Hey, that's really awesome, and I wish you guys do more of these in the future for ourselves. So once again, congratulations for In Other Words. I really look forward to it on September 8th, because I don't know, romantic comedies are my guilty pleasure, but don't tell people about that, okay? So anyways, hey, congratulations. It's been a pleasure speaking to the both of you.
Same here. Thank you. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Gig.
Hey, not a problem. Hopefully we get to do this again.
Yes,
Hope
definitely.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.